Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to MOC Heads Series 3, Episode 1. So today we have I Love a Bit of Snot on, or also known as Phil. But first of all, welcome everybody, welcome back. I know it's been a little while, at least 2 minutes since the last one. But yes, it's been just lots of actual mocking and just trying to actually have time amongst building Lego stuff. Yeah, I hope everybody is well. It's not like I haven't actually spoken to you, but obviously not in this capacity through MOC Heads. But yeah, it's great to see you guys all here, and we're in for a nice treat this evening. So we have I Love a Bit of Snot, who you may know through chat, or you may have seen his build at Bricktastic. So it'd be great to just get back into the mocking chat, find out everyone a different approach maybe. But yeah, before we bring Phil on, just say a quick hi to everybody. So we have Steph Waffles is here, who is here for 5 minutes beforehand, actually, although the timestamp is actually 7:54. So actually 6 minutes. So Steph's now 1 minute ahead of everybody else. Mark said, good evening, Mark's here. And we also have Phil's out in the chat as well. So many places at once. And we have Simon's back saying hi. Good to see MOC Heads is back. And we also have Andy's here as well. So anyway, and also we have Lego Team B, who also have a bit of snot too. I hope they are talking about the Lego brick. Otherwise, that's an odd comment, but just joking. But yes, before I just waffle myself into the quagmire of Lego bricks and the unwanted bottom of the pad drawer that no one wants, although I do like that drawer, I will bring on our first guest of Series 3, who is, as I said, I Love a Bit of Snot, also known as Phil. So here we are. Phil, good evening.
Hello, Gaz, and hello, Internet.
And you're well, I hope, as well this week.
I'm doing absolutely fine, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, great. So we're here to chat all things mock. Mateus is here as well. Hi, Mateus. Hope you're good. And you're actually working on a mock currently, aren't you, for Bricktastic for next year, for 2026 at the moment?
Is what I'm currently working on. Yes. Started back in March, probably.
Okay. So you literally finished this year's show and pretty much started straight away. So,
more or less, yeah.
Did you have like a week or two off, and then it's like next year go?
So, yeah, it was about that. Then it was starting to think about, well, what can I do next year? And then it went on from there, really.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I find sometimes when you finish the show, you can either have your appetite completely whet and you're like, oh, I know exactly what I want to do for next time, or you can get to that moment you're like, oh, where do I go now? So I think I've fallen into the latter camp, and it sounds like you've fallen into the former camp there. So
at least at the moment.
At the moment, okay, that's cool. That's good. But before we go on to the future, I thought we'd start with past, because it's a good enough place to start as any, I suppose. So if you just tell us a bit about yourself and your maybe like your experience with Lego and how you got into it initially.
Sure. Well, my experience with Lego did start in the 70s. I am actually that old. So I was a kid when classic space burst onto the scene. That I instantly latched onto that as my favourite theme of the time, really. But I didn't. As a kid, you build lots of silly models. I wouldn't necessarily count my mocking journey per se as starting then. But I can't remember much of the nonsense I built as a kid. Although oddly enough, I do remember being quite impressed with my own original series Enterprise that I'd built, which is quite an interesting thing now that Lego are actually officially doing some Star Trek stuff. But Yeah, I remember that from a kid. It probably wasn't as big as I remember it, I'm sure, but I remember it being quite white and very square. But yeah,
Okay, yeah.
I was quite proud of it at the time. Um,
There wasn't many
so like
colours, were
most
there?
people, well, indeed, there were far fewer colours back then.
Mm.
That is true. But at least the spaceship is kind of white. I think technically it's actually grey, but
Yeah.
that's down to camera exposures. But yeah, like most people, you know, when I got into my teens, it was a bit of a dark ages, so I
Mhm.
wasn't really there for the later part of space, Blacktron, a lot of Castle beyond the yellow one.
All right. Yeah.
And then kind of in the early 90s, I kind of got back into it, but it was mostly just buying sets for the most part. Buying sets, building sets, displaying sets, as most people do.
Mhm.
And really, it wasn't until probably 2019. I mean, actually, technically, you can look it up because it was the year the Dyna modular uh, stopped being produced.
Ah,
That's
okay.
the year that I started actually doing any kind of mocking, really. Starting out with trying to modify the aforementioned Dyna to try and make
Ah,
it bigger because I thought that would be an easy route into mocking. I thought,
hmm.
you know,
Okay.
try and take something that's already done and had a lot of the styles set, and then kind of modify that, and then I went on from there really.
Now we've actually got some of the Dyna that you did, haven't we? So what I'll do is if I just bring that up. Okay, so if I just add this to the stage, I don't know how to do it again. Oh, I know. Hmm. Ah, okay, I know why it's because I need that. Ah, okay, there you go. So this is the modified version of the just the Dyna. So this was the ground floor of it.
That is at this point only the ground floor, but I have
Mm-hmm.
also put some lights into it because I thought that'd be kind of cool. Rather than say mirror it, I was literally trying to double the width, but have it as a kind of sane extension of the dining area on the ground floor. So
Hmm.
the red thing you can see on the side, on the right side there is one of the chairs that hasn't actually been put up correctly yet. So it's a bit of a building site in a literal sense, really.
Okay. That's really cool. So I really like the way it's you have sort of done that with the double. It's like it's a double, as you say. It's not quite a mirror, is it? Um, you know, with that there. And so this is just the ground floor, and then you still did build then the upper section, like in the modular. But then see that's been expanded as well.
I
Um,
did do the floors above that, yeah, eventually.
got the reconstruction. So this is the ground floor complete, and so this is the post move reconstruction. So this is the finished product.
Pretty much, yeah. For the other floors, I wanted to lose the symmetry and go asymmetric, which is why it's kind of a slightly shorter top floor there because I didn't want to go for an exact mirror of all the floors going upwards.
Okay, okay. So presumably then this modular sort of really has inspired you then to sort of start mocking on a I don't know on a more sort of purposeful scale, as it were. So having to actually go out and source all the extra parts.
It did, yes. I mean, it's also the first modular that got me into the modulars.
Ah,
'Cause it was the
okay,
first
okay.
modular I bought and then went and bought most of the other ones that were on sale then. I didn't go to buy any retired ones or anything
Hmm.
like that. So I bought all the modulars since. And the other thing about getting the extra parts for this is because it had been or was going to retire at the end of the year, most of the people selling it were at that point already selling it at a massive markup. And it was
All
only
right.
John Lewis who would give me a decent deal on it. So I went and bought a second one to get most of the extra parts to fill it up, basically.
Ah, okay, okay. So what was your sort of what was your sort of process then for mocking it? Do you just sort of go, just grab all the bricks and just start working away with them straight away, or do you
No,
jump into studio?
I literally at that point sat down and learned Bricklink Studio,
Ah, okay.
basically, and started laying it all out digitally. You know, what would I like to do if I had the parts to do it, and then went from there. And then
Okay.
once I'd got it all done digitally, is when I then started to try and build it for real, basically.
Okay. So I think now you actually got there are some renders as well that you've sent. over as well. Which is going to be the face. So I'll start here as the central diner. So this is you planning out in studio then. So you just broke this down into little sections when you did it. Is that right?
Pretty much so, yeah. I mean, for example, the table is one of the things I started out with because the tables in the Dyna modular are themselves actually attached to the wall, so I don't think they even have this kind of stuff at the bottom. So that was one of the first things I thought about was how could I have that as a freestanding thing, have it still work, have the same kind of color scheme because the white in the middle and the grey around the outside, and how can I do that and make it fit and make it work? It sounds like an incredibly simple thing right now, and I'm sure I'd probably do a better job of it now. But starting out, you've got to start somewhere, and that's basically where I started.
Okay. So I suppose it's just a lot of the designing the diner then was kind of also learning studio as you go as well, and all the
basically,
all the twists and turns and interesting quirks that throws up as well. So it's a fun program. So I mean, how did you find though actually working on studio versus the real bricks initially? Anyway,
I would say initially and even now, really, in much way, I prefer it as a style of building because I don't have to worry about whether or not I have the parts, although perhaps I should do, and I don't have to worry about trying to pick them out and find out where they are in the storage. Now, sure, I could get someone to help me doing that, mentioning no names, but it's just so much. It's just so much easier to be able to click on a palette, click on a thing to set its color, and set the thing down. For me, it's just far more fluid. It allows me to be far more creative because I don't have to worry about where things are. I don't have to stop to think about that kind of thing. I can just create basically.
And so what do you think is or has been or maybe still is, because I work with the program as well and I know it can be quirky at times. What sort of challenges do you sort of find, or did you find then? Well, what sort of challenge did you find then that maybe you look back now and you think that's not a problem, that something now is that you wouldn't have even conceived maybe at the time?
I'm not sure I was really aware of any problems at the time because I think I was using it in a much more simple way. I mean, just splatting bricks down in place is pretty straightforward in Studio. I think that the problems I have with the software probably came years later when I was trying to do more complicated things, for example.
Okay. And because I know when I've tried to do, when you do the like piping and you try and bend it all the flex tubes, I've got to the point with that now. I don't even try. I'll just literally put the flex tube down at the side and know in my head I'm going to bend
It'll
that
be
around.
there, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I haven't even touched those. I don't think I'd want to touch those. That sounds like a pain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I used to, because before I actually went to studio, I did use LDD, and I think that was out of everything. I think that was one of the things that was a little bit easier in LDD.
Right.
And then I tried it in studio, and it's like trying to, you move one bit, and then you get this really weird sort of snake coiling thing, and it just goes. It's got a complete mind of its own, and I just decided, that was not for me.
So well, yeah, I mean, you mentioned LDD there. I certainly tried LDD. Could well have been 10 years ago, for all I know. I don't know how long ago it was. And I have to say, when I tried that, it put me off any kind of digital building at all.
Oh, it did.
And so, as soon as I'd heard of Studio, like, where was it? 8 years ago now? 7 years ago now? God, what is it? Yeah, it'd been quite some gap in my digital building experience at that point. So I thought, I'll give this a go, see how it goes. I was burned with LDD because I thought it was a horrible piece of software. I mean, maybe it's better now, don't shoot me, but, yeah, I did not enjoy LDD, whereas Studio I just found super easy to use straight out of the back, basically.
Yeah, it is. I think it is quite sort of intuitive on the whole. I mean, there are little quirks, little bits every now and again. It's that, oh, okay. But, it essentially it does then become easier just to put the bricks down. I suppose the only thing maybe is just trying to get used to where they catalog things. So, where, you find a plate there, or where a particular clip is like, oh, actually that counts as a plate modified, or it's getting used to
I don't know how they can do that much better, really. I mean, it is a bit unintuitive at times. I mean, sometimes I'll just go and search for the part on the web to get the design ID or something and just plug that in instead, because sometimes that's just the easier thing to do, for me anyway.
Oh yeah, definitely. I do that actually a lot as well. If I know there's a part and I've got no clue which category it is, particularly if it's a newer part, I'll do that. But then I've also then taken to doing that if I'm actually doing online Pab on Lego.
Right.
When you're doing the pick and pick thing there, I'll end up just putting the design number in, because it's just easier to find, because there's just not enough hours in the day for me to literally go through everything on the Lego pick and brick thing. It's just, I don't know how they categorize things. It's more chaotic, I think, in comparison.
Sometimes with Studio, you can enter the size of the part if you know the size of the part, but there are still gotchas with that, because, a 1x1 plate might find you most 1x1 plates, but if it's got a C-clip on, I don't know if that'll show up in a 1x1 search. It may be a bad example, but there are odd little edge cases like that where you're looking for the right size, but actually it's not that size.
Especially with some of the slopes as well. The heights can throw that out as well, I find. Because you've got to do that, was it 1x2x4 or whatever it is, which is always a bit, oh well. He was maybe I just assume something is like a 4 and then it ends up being like a 3, and you're like, oh great, I never find it. Okay, cool. So anyway, back to your builds, a nice little studio segue. So you started then with the diner, you've done that digitally. So did you actually just build the set first of all, and then decide to modify it, or did you actually just start the modification before you even put any of them together?
Bought the modular, built it, thought, wow, that's a fantastic model. I want more Lego like this, hence going and buying the rest of the modulars. And I thought, I wonder if I could, improve it, or, put my own stamp on it or whatever. So it inspired me to modify it, basically.
Okay. And I mean, it is very, so they've never really done one like that again, I don't think, because it's quite, I suppose it's almost sort of a bit art deco, maybe, is that what I'm thinking? Whereas, the big sort of sweeping curves and everything, they haven't really done anything else in that similar sort of architectural style since then. I mean, was it that particular architecture of this one that maybe appealed to make you want to expand it as well, or?
It was, yes. I mean, thinking maybe it's a bit Art Deco is maybe the thing, perhaps, actually. I do like a bit of Art Deco. But it obviously is very American as well, which is not something I would have thought I would be particularly inspired by, because I'm not really into American culture per se that much. But I don't know, there was just something about the architecture of the building that made me think, oh, I really like this.
Yes, it is. And the colour scheme's quite... it's sort of really sort of, I want to say sort of pastelly. It's not quite pastel, is it? But it's sort of muted tones, but sort of almost like the neon sort of tones, like the greens and like the pinks. There's some sort of pinks in that thing.
There is, yeah.
Which is really interesting. But again, they've never really sort of gone back to that sort of 50s look-ish aesthetic either, which is strange really when you think that there are other things they could do, I suppose, with it. But then I suppose we don't know what's going to come this year, because we got a British pub last year, so
yeah,
it could be so. Let's see. So do you have so this is a floor plan you did of it. So this is just the ground level for the diner,
basically. Yeah.
So this is looking down. So is this the same width as the actual modular, or was it actually ended up being narrow? Because I haven't actually seen this one from the back, so I only know this one from the front. So
it is literally double the width, basically. Actually, slightly more than double the width for reasons I can't quite necessarily remember now. I think it's actually 66 studs wide, if you include the overhang of the white what's that bit called? Which the
Oh,
sign sits on, the kind of roof canopy kind of thing.
yeah, sort of trimming bit. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
The
So that actually
fancy French.
overhangs onto other things. So I've got to be careful where I place it in the layout, basically, because otherwise there isn't enough space for it.
Because I think we have got a picture actually of your street that you had. I mean, if you still got the sort of street set up as well.
No, I mean currently the layout we've got is in a bit of a mess because we're shrinking it down and rotating it 90 degrees for reasons not worth going into here.
Oh, okay, no,
Basically,
okay. Okay.
otherwise I would have taken some pictures of that, but it looks like a disaster zone at the moment.
Okay. I really can't talk at the moment. It's just I've got to redo the shelf. I started to put stuff on because it's decided to sag. So that's blood on my part. Okay, so we've got the side profile here. So you've kept the sort of sweeping curves there, and presumably then this is, I think the window goes back further on one side than the other side, because I think there's a
It does, that's
on
right.
side, isn't it?
On this side, which is part of my modification, it does go back further, as you say,
Okay.
because it doesn't need to account for the corner door that's actually on the opposite corner.
Okay. Oh, is that this one here? Okay, and there's the stairs there. So this is actually a really good tool for actually planning stuff out as well. I mean, do you, when you actually once you've done the build virtually, do you do instructions at all for when you're actually putting it together, or do you literally just switch it on and just build it from what you're looking at on the screen?
Let's say I do instructions.
Right. Okay.
I do something that I can follow, even if I'm gritting my teeth and grumbling whilst doing it. But it's something that I can follow. Basically,
Okay.
it's not great, but it does the job for me.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think when I do these, I tend to just have it on the screen and just sort of hide bits, so I can just hide the bricks, so I can say, all right, okay, that's how it starts.
That's understandable as well.
I think I've tried doing instructions once or twice, and it really is just, I haven't got enough time in my life
To some extent, if you can be really diligent with the way you set up your scene, because in studio you can put bricks into steps, and if you break those down well enough, the instructions do almost create themselves, almost. So that's kind of what I aim to try and do if I'm trying to do them. It does the job.
So that's through like submodels when you're building, is it? Or
no. I mean, you can do submodels, but again, you're probably going to want to break those up into steps if they're reasonably large. But yeah, on the right-hand panel where you've got all the bricks, if you selected a load, you can right-click on those and say add to another step, and it will just create a bunch of steps for you.
Oh, okay. I was going to say,
I will admit that I'm not very good at explaining things, but
that's fine.
It's fairly simple once you get the hang of it.
Okay, I actually didn't know that was a feature, because I tend to just sort of put it down and be like, and as I said, I'll just go back to it and dismantle it sort of afterwards. So knowing that there is an option to do that might be something in the future for maybe smaller things, not the larger stuff, because it's I can imagine, like, for example, with the table and chairs here, that'd be quite useful to be able to do that, so you can then just replicate it quicker. But then again, when there is a lot of repetition as well, you get to the point where it's, you can kind of just remember what you did like a minute ago anyway, I suppose. So
I'm also very clearly a fan of getting my renders in there as well.
Yeah. The thing is, you do though, don't you? When you've got that as an option, you think, yeah, but what would it look like if I've lit it as well? Or there's some lights in there as well, which is a bit of a rabbit hole then, because it kind of then sets you thinking, oh, so how will I actually do that in real life? And then obviously you'll go down the whole.
Well, and we're in this shot here where I have indeed simulated the lighting, and who knows, maybe this is why I went down the lighting path. I don't know.
It is. It's very because it is so easy to do in studio. To actually just light it when you do the render. It's kind of I think it just kind of maybe sets that expectations in your head that, well, it's easy enough in there. I can just do it in real life, and of course,
exactly.
Then you have to work out about the wire situation, for example, which that's a job into itself. So we've got some. So once you finish the diner that you had here, so you've got the full diner with the upper floors. Were they all the rooms populated as well, or furnished? So,
They were eventually. I don't think they are in that specific render by the looks of it, but they were eventually. Yeah.
see that. I
Again,
think
all
that's
initially done digitally and then done physically.
because I know that is definitely one thing that I'm not very good at. Is if I'm doing any sort of building, I'll maybe do. So like you've got the bit downstairs, the actual diner part where you can see all the chairs and tables. I always make sure I've got that bit, so the bit you can clearly see it's got stuff in. But like the upper floors, I probably wouldn't actually do because I'd run out of steam and be like, oh yeah, but no one's going to see
Well,
it.
this is one of the downsides of doing lighting, is it shows up your interior, so then you have to
Yeah.
populate them.
Well, yeah,
know,
this is very true.
For better or worse,
Yeah, well, because it looks great, but also it's like it will show clearly that it's an empty apartment. Like,
Exactly.
I suppose there's only so long you can get away with saying, yeah, we haven't moved in yet. So, it's like,
Well, yes.
just put some moving boxes outside. That's fine. And so you put this on mill. So all your modulars on a mills type?
They're on a version of mills. I'm not a big fan of base plates, so I shun them entirely. So my mills are all plate, brick, plate.
Okay. So actual plate as opposed to the thin, wafer thin things.
Indeed. And that worked out very well for us a couple of years ago, and we thought actually we could do with all these buildings being a little bit higher. So all we needed to do is to chuck a few bricks under the plates we already had, because they were plates, not base plates. Job's a good one, no problem.
And I suppose that worked well for the new road system when it came out as well. Well, I'm not sure that must have predated the new road system as well, when they had the new couple of bricks high.
But if you look at those renders, I am actually in those renders using the new road system, so it was available at that time.
That was the.
I think they first started to appear in about 2019, 2020. I want to say.
Yeah, I think it was around then, wasn't it? Because I remember there's been lots of videos on it, and people either being for it or totally against it. I can say, having got some modulars now, I can see actually that for me, I think I do quite prefer the new road system, because you can get the slight difference in levels between it, as opposed to it being all pretty much on exactly the same level.
I like them personally. I think they're all right. I mean, are they a bit too glossy? Maybe, but other than that, I think they do a good job.
Yeah, I suppose
I think they're more flexible than the base plates.
Oh yeah, definitely. And also because it's either like 32 by 32. Because I think they used to do more sizes in base plates. They sort of reduced those quite a lot now. You kind of just limited more with the sizes. But now these are 16 by 16, aren't they? So you can just kind of do a lot of different things with them, which is great. I put that on the. I just realised I didn't actually share that image. I put it on my screen to show the road plate, but I didn't actually bring it up because that was a bit silly on my part, really. So we mentioned lighting as well. So you've then, after the diner, I know you did a street lighting for your modulars on your street scene.
Yeah.
And you actually, so you did that in studio to start with.
Yeah.
And then you brought it into the real world. And then you actually added the lights as well, the actual lights. So how would you, was that like your first foray into the actual lighting?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, other than, the initial lighting up of the modular, the diner modular, yeah. And then I started trying to do other things, and then it was thinking about, well, how am I going to get the cables through here, and without them having to show, because I don't really want the cables showing. Some people are okay with that, me personally not. So I want to try and hide them as much as I possibly can. So yeah, trying to work out how to hide them in street lights was quite a challenge. I didn't really want to go down the route of using the modified version of the street lamp that comes with most modulars that I know some lighting companies do. They sell you a pre-lit one where they, I think, drilled down the center and got a light in that way.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to do something that was a little bit more flexible and maybe looked a little bit more kind of English as well. Harken back to the days of old gas or candle lighting, where someone had to come down the street and light the actual street lights all the time. So that's the street light design I ended up on. It was more kind of a classic old English kind of thing.
And that's this one with the. So you've got like the gold accents on it as well, haven't you? With the and then the double. What do you call it? A double light lamppost, I suppose.
Call it a double lamppost, sure. So in my head canon, the gold unicorn horns there are where someone back in the day would have lent a ladder up against it to climb up to go and light each of the lamps, for example.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, I still love it. There's something I think missing slightly with stuff like that we don't get. That sort of that sort of thing happen anymore, because there is something quite nice about it. Someone actually just come around to make sure it's all working like that.
Sure.
But I don't know. Maybe it's just because I've seen it in some films and it looks great, and it's like, oh, that'd be so cool. But then
so the thing about carry on.
No, go on.
I was going to say, so the thing about this design here is there is a hollow space from the base of this all the way up to each of the clear sections on either side. So there's a very clear space to run a cable through there.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that actually. So the actual post itself is got there is a space. You say so it's the Technic pins holding these together, and of course you got the hole right the way through the Technic pins.
Basically, yeah, exactly that. And then it's all snot pins and snot bricks and cones on the top there, which allow you to go down into the lights themselves. And the cone at the bottom is one of the more modern ones, which does also have a hole in. I think the older ones don't. And then at the bottom, it's just an L-shaped corner plate and a quarter curved tile. So you don't quite see the cable coming out of the bottom and going into the Mills plate underneath it.
Okay. So I think that's the only thing I think they could. Well, not the only thing. It's one of the things I think they could do is if they actually, the jumper plate is a solid stud. I think because it's kind of made with it, so you could have, because the actual stud itself is hollow, but then that's it. You can't get through. I think if that you can actually get through with that, I think that could be another useful piece, because I know with the similar round one, there's like the rounder 2x2 jumper plate. I think that one's a hole that goes all the way through. So I think you could probably do the cable going right through the bottom as well with this, but obviously keeping it square, which
indeed. I am always unreasonably excited when a new part comes out that's got a hole in rather than a solid stud.
It's, you just look at them and you think, oh, I could use this. This is perfect. I can use this with it. But then you've got to wait then, I suppose, for it to actually come onto studio, which I'm not sure. What's the sort of time difference usually for that? Because it's not instant, is it? I think it's
certainly not. I mean, there are certainly parts that aren't in it now that I would really like to be in it, but I don't know. I don't know whose responsibility it is. I don't know whether it's like an open source type thing for getting those parts in. I've no idea what that process is.
I don't know if the new stud with clip that's come out at the start of the year. Presumably that must be in studio now. I haven't actually.
I'm pretty sure it is, because I think I was using that last week or so. I think that's there.
That's good. I know I did one of the MOCs at the start of the year. I had used loads of that piece, and it wasn't in there at the time, which is, I think, kind of just sort of again to the side, sort of writing plus, however many of this I'm going to need. Excuse me. So we've got the rent. Actually, what piece is this just the normal 2x2 brick as well for the actual lamp with the boat stud at the bottom?
Which bit are you talking about?
Oh, sorry, the clear part. Sorry.
The clear part. So that is the 2x2 round cylinder and the 2x2 shoe, I think they call it.
Right.
On the bottom of it.
Okay. I just looking at it because it's really quite clean, but then again, the the sort of the shoe part does fit so nicely. It does sort of actually finish it off as a sort of more full circle as well. So we've got then a view here looking down the street, and you can see all of your light design on there lit up. How easy or not was it to actually get all the wiring in there? Was it quite an operation, or?
That is, it's a bit of a faff. It's a bit too much of a faff, maybe. Since I've done that, I've come up with other ideas of how to make it a little bit more modular using the contact plates that Like My Bricks use. So you can do kind of wireless connections. That wasn't in use here. It's probably what I would do for the ones going down the road there in future. For ones that are actually built into the Mills plate of modular, then yes, it's just a case of, at the moment, for me, running the wire somewhere and connecting it up in some favvy way. Really, it's not super easy, but it's a bit of a faff, but it is doable.
Okay, and there's, so presumably because you've got the lights either side, there'd be two wires going down, and then they sort of just part ways, if you like, at the sort of
basically correct, yeah.
Okay. And is it quite a tight fit in the Technic pin, or I can't quite remember how?
For those ones on Like My Bricks version 1 system, it wasn't too bad. The silly connectors they used to have did have to be kind of fed through one at a time, which is a bit tedious, but not too bad really. There's plenty of space for the cables themselves, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So, I know they did bring out a super thin cable at one point as well, but that is very delicate as well to use, which is you kind of have to use it very. I think I've maybe used it very sparingly on one thing, but I decided I wasn't going to get them again because they were too thin.
Well, another small advantage of those lamps there, for example, is there's zero wire pinching. It's all free flowing through all the holes that are available in the Lego parts.
And they go, because they're not going to go across the road normally. I mean, I know we've got this bit here, but presumably they'll go like down and then just under, not actually through bricks, if that makes sense.
Basically, yeah.
And was this this and the diner, would you say that's the start of your sort of lighting journey as well as mocking, do you think?
Absolutely, yes. And basically, most of the things I've tried to do since then, I've always started out with lighting in mind, basically.
Okay. So that's kind of like is that almost like a prerequisite for you then now, when you're actually doing the mock, is you think, okay, I would like to have elements of light in it, so you need to...
Yeah.
Okay.
I just think a lot of things just look so much better with, a decent amount of lighting in, basically.
And
it just adds that extra bit of cool for my mind.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I think it just adds a little bit more life to things sometimes. I mean, I think some of the lighting kits you can get for all the sets, I think sometimes they're a bit unnecessary because they do tend to do lighting kits for everything, and you think, I don't know if you need lights for that really.
If people like those, that's fine, you do you, but for my personal taste, a lot of those lightning kits are far too overbaked for my taste. I'd like to take half the lights out,
Yeah, it's just trying to find one that's a bit sympathetic and actually matches or balances, I suppose, with the actual set itself. Do you for when you lit your city and here, or would you have got lighting kits as well, or would they have just been just the components?
Certainly back for what I was doing here, I was purely buying components. I think maybe as a more informed buyer these days, I would probably try and assess what lighting kits maybe had the majority of the parts I wanted, because it can sometimes be cheaper to get the individual parts that way. Not always, but sometimes, certainly. Especially if there's a sale on.
Oh yeah. Yeah, whenever you get the emails there's a sale on, it's like, great, I've got a list of stuff I need. So you just go through it all. I think we've got this one you can see a bit better as well here. You can actually see where you've got the wires coming out just at the bottom of the lamppost here. But they actually light up really brightly. Actually, do you find the clear or the trans-clear elements actually sort of magnify the lighting in some parts?
I'm not sure now if I've tried any other colours, to be honest. I don't think we tried anything other than clear, if I'm honest. Not a bad idea to try other colours.
I think I've got a blue one I've used on one mock, and it was quite a nice sort of piercing blue, which is quite nice. It's quite bright. Yeah, I'm gonna try some nice. Might try and definitely give it a
go. I'm really quite fussy about lighting colour, actually. The diner in the back there. I mean, going back to Light My Bricks, because it tends to be their stuff I use most. They have two whites. They have a cool white, which for me is too cool, and a warm white, which for me is too warm.
Right.
For that particular store, at least. So actually, what I've got in that building is pairs of a cool one and a warm one to try and get the balance that I want. I'm just too fussy with these things sometimes.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, there is a good point. There is a good thing with that, though, because sometimes you get the cooler, so the warmer lights, and they're just that little bit too yellow. So it's not quite white anymore. And it's a bit, or it's not that quite how I saw it when I wanted to light it initially in my head. And it ends up being, I don't know, a bit more sort of tinged with almost like jaundice, I suppose. I mean, but it does look sort of quite just bright light then in the diner, because I think it doesn't look too cool.
No.
Or too warm, I suppose. What's he saying? Mixed lighting. That's one romantic diner. Okay. Nice. I get a nice overview here as well of the street scene as well, which is really cool. There is a close up of the actual one of the lights. Just gonna find it here. This is the old one with the original connectors as well, with those tiny little plugs.
Yeah.
Which I remember the wires when you're actually going into the plugs generally can be quite fragile as well. They're very. I think I accidentally.
Yeah, those. The version 2 system has its problems, but I do much prefer it just because of those connectors on the version 1 thing. I just, I'm in my 50s now. I'm sorry, I can't see those little connectors anymore. They're just horrendous.
Because they only go in one way, don't they? And it's really awkward to try and work out which way, because it's just one slight little notch, I think, out of one side, and it's like.
It's that joke you get with the USB connector, isn't it? You put it in one way, it's wrong. You put it in the other way, it's wrong. You put it in the other way again, and now it works.
Yeah, it is.
It's just tedious.
You sort of spend all your time just trying to do one light, and you say, I've still got another 12 to go. Oh, God. It's not very fun. Where's that? There is a shot there with a lamppost with. There's a close-up of this one. Got this one in the light.
I think those two are the closest I've got.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so this one you can see. This is a nice close-up.
It's an old test one. It's strange colours.
Oh, with the actual post as well.
Yeah.
You've got the. I just realised you got the actual dish here as well, and that's got the hole through it, because I know that they don't all have the holes through either, which is. I think I did. I actually just got to the point I just drilled a hole in one in the end. Have you
outrage?
Oh well, I was going to ask. Do you have you ever actually modified any sort of Lego pieces?
No, and I think if I did do that, I'd probably be kicked out. So I'm not going to.
Oh, okay. I have found before that I wanted something in one color and they haven't done it, but they've done. So it's been the one of those wedge pieces, but it's like the trapezium type shape, and I just needed half of one of those, and it didn't have it in the right color, so I ended up just cutting one down the middle, and then 2 months later, they did bring it out in the color that I needed. So it's like, oh, great. But it's surprisingly easy to actually cut the Lego bricks, which is a learning experience just from that. So we had the street light in. We actually sort of started to play more with the lights as well in person. For your builds. And then it's gone on from there. The next thing you did then was the phone box. And this is all, so initially, because all your builds up to this stage are kind of city themed.
They are.
So is that, so that's kind of the theme you started out when you started doing like more mock builds?
Basically, yes. And as for inspiration of doing things, sometimes you feel inspired to do things, because of ideas you have. But I would say both the street light and the phone box that you're probably about to show we could really do with these things. Someone better create them, I suppose. So they were, in a way, a little bit more out of necessity or desire than necessarily inspiration to go and do the things in a way.
Because there is a bit of a strange sort of gap almost with that. You can't get separate phone boxes. You can't get separate letterboxes either, really, because you tend to just get those the ones that they've had out forever, that they use for everything as well, with the open front that you can actually put the letter in. But they don't sort of seem to do many of those sorts of builds. I mean, I think the closest we've had to an actual UK type phone box was in that Harry Potter set, and
yes, and the phone box I've designed there does use the front door from that, because it's the best one that gives you the printed texture for it.
That's there's the door here, isn't it? Yeah,
correct.
I think it's zoomed in. But yeah, then because then the rest of it then is just I don't know. I know I'm not saying they should necessarily always just do UK stuff, but at the same time they haven't really got any options at all for it. It's
no.
I mean, I think most sort of city builders, and even if you're just building like a small city, like the new that new Spider-Man stuff's quite good for just doing like a nice city row. I think anybody from like being a kid upwards could maybe appreciate actually having some accessories like that where you can actually just put them in just to enhance things a bit more.
Sure. I mean, this model here is very much inspired by the Potter one, because we kind of looked at that set and thought we could really use a phone box, but that one isn't quite as proportionally correct as ourselves would want it. So it was then a case of, well, how can I kind of get those proportions a bit more right, as good as I can with the bits I've got available. I mean, for example, technically the sides of that phone box should also be glass, to be more realistic, but there was no way I could make that work in a way that I liked without making the footprint of the thing so much bigger that it started to look literally disproportionate.
Like the Lego Ideas TARDIS, for example, which is I still can't work out quite what scale that is meant to be, but it's certainly fun one. It just doesn't fit anywhere. So we've done the phone box, which actually, as you can see, is actually in proportion really with the figure. Now, because the Potter one's quite narrow, isn't it, as well? Whereas this one actually looks like it is actually a square shape, as they actually were, or still are as well in some places. And this is the test one when you had slightly curved sides, but you didn't move on.
Again, rendering, trying ideas, slightly curved sides to give it a little bit more form, but ultimately didn't go with that and went for flat sides.
Was that just to give it a try out, just to see what it would look like?
Exactly. Again, the advantage for me for building it digitally and rendering it, because I certainly didn't have enough of those slope parts probably to try it out for real, and I can just whack it in there, see what it looks like. Didn't like it, moved in a different direction. No parts bought, nothing harmed.
And it's quite useful as well, because you can. I mean, I know you can't. Once you've rendered it, you can't go around the image, but you still can go around the build before it's been rendered as well, so you can get a feel as well of how it looks from most angles as well, which I think sometimes is the thing that can catch you out. can build something and it look great from the front, then you move it around to one angle and you see some gaps and stuff. So it's great that when you're building virtually, like you can actually account for all of that as you go, as it were. So, and then order the bricks that you need afterwards.
As Steph is pointing out in the chat there, the final build we ended up with is quite fragile. But, you know, I don't need to build MOCs to Lego standards. So, you know, as long as it can sit on the layout, we can open the door, put a fig in, close the door. If it does that, that's fine.
Yeah, that's a win. It's still a win. You can get the figure in there, and then it looks like they're actually on the phone. Yeah, definitely. I think that's the difficulty as well, isn't it? With when you're building in studio versus when you're translating it into the real world, is there are other factors then that come into play with or forces that act upon your builds versus the
absolutely
free world.
That was one of my big learns last year doing this the MOC for Bricktastic for this year.
Oh, so is that the gravity coming into it?
Gravity and just general clutch and things like that. Yeah.
Okay. There isn't really any way of sort of testing that really in studio, unfortunately, which is
no.
Which I don't know how they would be able to put that in there either as an option, really.
It's certainly possible, but as a software engineer and someone who's done physics in games before now, I will say it's possible, but it's a non-trivial problem.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, you do get to that point, don't you, when it's just you just think, oh, I just need this to go in there, and it's maybe out by a couple of millimeters, because I know there are some tolerances with in studio as well that's slightly off versus reality, and it's just so frustrating when you spent ages doing the build in studio and it just doesn't fit. Then that one little connection, or something's just a little bit bigger than it was in studio, and it's back to the drawing board then.
Well, as I say, this is my big learn from last year. It's do some design in studio for sure, but once you're reasonably happy, try and physically build it before you go steaming on into other things, because otherwise in 3 months' time you're going to be, oh cock, this doesn't work. Now I'm going to go back to the drawing board or something, and then you've suddenly gone back 15 steps.
I think what I've done before as well, I think I've just got, right, that's it, and you leave it, and then I've just come back to it like a couple of months later, and like, okay, I've got it's enough sort of separation from it now. I can actually go at it slightly differently, maybe, and sometimes I fix it, and other times I just be like, I'm going to tear it down and start completely again, which is a lot easier to do before you started buying the bricks, I suppose. But once you started, it's like, oh God, I'm not going to need half of these now.
Which was, I had a little bit of that last year, I think.
Oh, that's it's called classic space layout, wasn't it? You had this year.
Kind of classic space, modern space mashup, yeah.
So I know you've so up to this point you've always been sort of city. So what? And I know you've mentioned that you liked classic space growing up as a theme. So what was it then that sort of made you sort of want to actually go back to that for your MOCs?
Well, I think that all came out of going to Bricktastic in 2023 and 2024 and coming away from that thinking, hey, let's do a display, basically. And it's like, okay, well then what would we do? And it was started out with this, flimsy idea of some kind of classic space thing. And then it just gradually went on from there, really.
And so what was your sort of initial idea there? I know we've got the pictures of like the when you're sort of starting to put it together and coming up with the ideas, but what was the initial sort of, did it change from what you initially thought, and then you kind of thought, oh, actually, no, I'll go down that route, or where you ended up with where you wanted to?
There were certainly changes, but the basic idea pretty much remained consistent, I would say, which was we'll have some kind of classic space, modern space mashup. We'll have it set on a tan planet as a callback to those classic space sets boxes of the time, which had the sets on tan backgrounds and stuff. That all remained the same, and the only things that really changed as we went through were layout and precisely what went where for the most part, really, I would say.
Okay. Oh, of course, yeah, it was that's right, I forgot it was the year of space, wasn't it, last year?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, and we are now in the year of the F1 currently.
We are.
Somehow. So let's see. So we've got got some renders then that you did of the initial planet side of it. So this is the sort of the landscape you worked with for it.
Yeah.
So was this? I mean, first of all, this is all sideways building for the actual landscape. Is that right? Okay. So what sort of made you want to go down that route for it, as opposed to just stacking the plates?
It's an aesthetic choice, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I particularly wanted, for the most part, a smooth landscape. And basically, there are two ways of doing that. It's either have a lot of tiles or bricks on the side. And the other advantage of doing bricks on the side is it does allow you to get, those curved edges on each step down in the landscape, for example. To do that with studs up would be harder and or impossible. So that's mainly the reason why. It's purely aesthetics, and it allowed me to get those nice curves.
Because you're kind of limited plates wise, aren't you? Because you can stick a tile on to try and smooth it off, but then you still got that step, where the actual curve, the actual edge bit is where there isn't a stud normally anyway. It's kind of
sure,
which I think would probably makes it look a bit non-naturalistic, I suppose. But yeah, because and there's a lot more, I think, curves going, in profile, as it were. So on like the normal bricks versus the just the plates, because I think there aren't many actual curved ones. I don't think actually plate-wise that aren't like half circles. Which
yeah, basically they're quarter circles or half circles, and that's kind of it mostly. So yeah, I mean it was. I mean, this aesthetic was broadly one of the other things that was decided pretty much at the start, I would say, as that's the kind of look I wanted to go for.
And was it quite easy to work with once you'd started to do it that way?
I mean, that might depend on your definition of quite easy. The big chunks to the left and the right, which are purely bricks on their side, was broadly speaking easy enough to do, because I mean it's just bricks on top of bricks, just going a different direction. The main problem came with trying to integrate those sections with the river that runs down the right hand side, because that is studs up. And if you take a moment to think about that, a brick is 2.5 plates high when you put it on the side. So trying to get that to line up nicely or to look sane with plates coming up, you're going to sometimes have that half a plate offset, which you're going to have to try and hide or make look neat somehow.
Yeah.
So that's where it became a bit of a ball ache, let's say. That's probably where I spent the most of my time digitally, trying to make those work in a way that I thought looked, neat, basically.
And it worked presumably it worked all right in real life as well. There weren't any differences in any of the heights in studio versus the real ones.
No. Within some odd little tolerances, maybe. It more or less worked just fine with all the bits I ended up trying to work out.
Was there a particular part here that you were sort of most proud of, or how it came out?
I think the bit there are two bits that I really like about this. Well, maybe three. One not here is the cave. I really like the little hidden detail of the cave I put in. I really liked the kind of crater that I've got there in the front middle, because again that's a whole load of preposterous snot nonsense, which it is quite flimsy, but more or less sits together. And the river itself and the decoration of that and the trees that are next to it, I think, is the bit I really liked, along with the lighting that I chucked underneath it. I think those were all pretty good looking sections for me.
Nice. Now, I think we've actually got a separate one for the trees, haven't we? This is the colour, isn't it, for the tree? So I suppose that's another thing as well. When you're doing a more a non-terrestrial landscape, you've got a lot more free reign colour-wise, because you can kind of, it's like, well, this is how it is where I'm building it. Did you find that quite, I want to say liberating, but did you find that really useful in the fact that you could just, you weren't constrained to just shades of green?
That was certainly really good that I could just go in any direction with the colour. I am red-green colourblind, so Steph works very well as helping me kind of get colours that work well together, basically. But it was certainly very much a conscious choice to go with some crazy colours for the trees here. And this shot here is another one of my tedious attentions to detail that no one's ever going to get, of me thinking about, okay, for each of these buds on the tree, what is their life cycle from start to finish? And what colours do they go through and how do they evolve?
Oh, okay. So that's so it's evolves left to right, is that right?
From left to right, yeah.
Yeah, so it's the more sort of pale go to the rich one with the jewel in the end. That's the sort of
basically
ultimate step within the cycle. Oh, that's really cool. But then with stuff like this, you do need to sort of set your own sort of rules for the world that you're in, just to for it to make sort of, it's just you need that sort of through line to make it a bit more sort of, I want to say realistic, but just to sort of give it a bit more continuity throughout.
It helps to keep it internally consistent, basically.
Yes, yeah. That's really cool. And
so
then
if you're designing other things, you can think, well, I've set these rules before. I kind of want to build to those rules to kind of, as you say, keep a clean line through it, basically.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's really useful to have stuff like that in the back of your mind. And I think it's one of those things that subconsciously, that when we are doing mocks, there is that sort of we have got maybe something either written down or in this form, or even if it's just in the back of your head, you think, well, in my particular pocket of mock world, if you like, then this is the particular sort of shaping that we use. This is the coloring that we use, or the color palette we use, or these are like the rules that I have to work within, because we all do put constraints on ourselves for what we're doing in some shape or form. And it's just, again, this is just another way of doing that, really, isn't it? It's just like a visual aid for you.
Yeah.
Which is, again, it's just, as you say, just keeps it all consistent within it. Tolkien level of thoughtfulness. Slam BKM.
So. That's far too flattering, I think.
But I think it's one of those things that, like, when we are building mocks, we do tend to just put little things in there that maybe are just for us, or like little Easter eggs that you think, I don't know, you maybe just put down like a head of, like, I don't know, your favorite minifig or something. You just add it into the build somewhere, and you're just like, no one else knows it's there, but that's there. That's always in this particular mock that I'm building, or all my mocks.
Well, indeed, my final build as displayed did have some Easter eggs, some of them obvious, some far less so. I mean, one of the more obvious ones, perhaps as a viewer, is some of the actual classic spacemen from my youth that are so old that they don't have a print on, they have a sticker instead on the torso.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That was one of the more obvious ones, really. Because it does look terribly dirty and clearly quite old, but it was there for for me, really.
Okay. But then outside looking in, it's like, oh, cool, spaceman, and that's kind of the limit, I suppose, for some people.
Basically, yeah.
Really cool. And so here, and this is actually then the tree as well. We've got here. So this one's quite a young tree. Then looking at the steps from just the previous picture as well. So, and were they all? And so just sort of maintain like the story that you had with the planet here. Were they all at the same point of development, all the trees? So it's all like at the same time of year, as it were. So.
Broadly, yes, on the scene as mocked up, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's very cool. I've got some more of the actual construction here. So, and the trees then initially were all designed in studio.
They were.
Kind of just...
And that's one of the more tedious things to have to do in studio, because once you start trying to rotate things off a standard grid axis, it becomes a massive ball ache.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of do you find that you have to sort of manually sort of enter like angles and stuff after a while because it doesn't go the way you necessarily want it
to a certain extent, and make judicious use of the connect tool to say, look, I want to connect that to that, please just do it.
It gets that point sometimes in the studio and you're just like, it's just there, and it does that really annoying thing sometimes when it looks like it's going to connect and it's like just and it's like, no, come on. I'm surprised I've got as much patience as I do with it sometimes, but I definitely get that sort of cloud that comes out sometimes. Like, no, walking away, got to come back.
I mean, I do maybe shy away from doing some other things now. For example, the mock I'm doing for next year will have these trees in, and as built, they don't fit in the place that they're going to go on the mock digitally. But
right, okay.
I'm going to use it anyway. I don't care that it doesn't fit. I know what it's supposed to be doing. The real thing I build will fit. I'm quite confident of that, but I'm not going to try and rebuild that digitally because, yeah, it was too much of a pain last time. I don't need to do it again.
Still got the scars from last time we tried to do it. Okay. God, this is. I think there needs to be like a studio recovery group or something. I think just
absolutely
working. So one of the things then as well is this is actually your first display build as well.
It was, yes.
Was there anything that you sort of had in mind for when you design it, or in the back of your head for when you're designing it for like portability, for actually moving it to the convention?
This was designed from day one with portability in mind, absolutely. I knew I would be traveling to the venue on public transport, trains and buses, so I knew it had to fit in a suitcase, basically. So it was very much designed with that in mind. All those layers of tan bricks, for example, more or less lift off and are just one brick thick, and they were sandwiched between cardboard, ultimately put into a suitcase, so on and so forth. So yes, that was itself quite complicated, really, to try and think about that from the start and make sure it all worked.
And I think we have actually got some pictures of the modularity of it there as well. So we've got the landscapes like this, and then it just comes apart like that. So it's kind of like, just as you say, it's kind of like just stacked up, I suppose, and it just all connects to, is it like the base, is like the thing that holds it all together, the actual
it just sits on a table,
or just literally just sits on top of each other like
that? Yes. So during setup there is a little bit of push it here, prod it there to try and make sure it all lines up, basically. Okay. But yeah, it all just sits on the table. My original plan for this did have it having a plate base so it all line up properly, but ultimately that was just going to be too much of a faff. If this would have worked, that's fine by me.
Okay.
The only thing that didn't really break down, and you can kind of see it here, is the river itself. That is just one big chunky thick module, which once it's built basically.
Okay, so that's literally just one sort of whole section that is just transports as is.
Basically, yeah.
And then when the plates are together, they'll just kind of sit and fill these gaps here. Where you've
Basically,
got all
yeah.
the coloured bits, isn't it?
Yeah, those little coloured support beams you can see on that front module there are primarily there to support the next thing up. And then basically what was done is a loose chunk of bricks, well, what I say loose, they weren't attached to the model or the table, were just stuck underneath to prop it up, basically. So they were free floating.
Is it quite easy to actually set up as well then? Or did you find it quite easy to set up?
Setup was actually pretty quick. I don't know if other people do this, but I did do a test setup at home as well, just to kind of see how long it would take and make sure I knew what problems there would be, if there were any, and how I would address them if they came up, basically.
I was actually going to ask if you do like a test run at home first, because I know that's definitely something I've started doing more and more with stuff, just to try, if anything, just to try and shorten it. You know, the more you sort of drill it down, you're like, okay, I've got it down to this length of time now. I just need a little bit more.
Basically, yeah.
And is it quite easy then to quite easy then to pack down as well? Because I know sometimes some people will set it up and then the only way that unsetting it up or packing it down is to just chuck it off the table. Or some people then actually have got it, and then so you can literally just reverse it and it's all.
Yes, I mean, I did take my time to pack it up and to keep it in its, bits rather than, shove it off a table like my neighbour did, or just, shove it into a box and not care if it all fell apart. I did actually take some time to try and pack it up, so it could be set up again. And technically, it is set up just behind me over here, although it is slightly in bits at the moment.
Okay.
Actually, if anything, the teardown was more stressful than the setup, because I'm sitting there trying to put the cling film back on things, put the cardboard around it, and the hall organisers are there trying to pull the tables out from under.
Oh,
it's like for Christ's sake, can you let me finish packing first, please?
Yeah, that was they managed to make that a lot more stressful than I think it needed to be. That was quite crazy. Because I think because where we were, we had the big shutter doors, so they opened that, and we had the wind just came in, and it's like stuff was blowing everywhere from random MOCs and stuff everywhere. And then, as you say, then they're trying to clear you off the tables and also rip the carpet up at the same time.
Yeah,
and it's like, hang on, it just seems you've got like a whole day to set up, and you've got like 5 minutes to pack down, and it was just a bit of a free fall, really.
Although that story there does remind me of one slight setup niggle that I did have, because again we were by those big loading doors, is that the trees themselves are quite fragile. Okay. And I'd set those up, and then they kept falling apart on setup day. Fortunately, it was purely because of the wind coming in those doors, so I was very glad that they were closed from the following day.
Yeah,
otherwise that could have been embarrassing if my MOC kept falling apart on the third day. That would have been terrible.
I think it was a bit. I just, because like setup day as well, you didn't know quite how it was going to go, in that how everything was going to be like airway wise and footfall wise as well, because you don't know if it's just people just walking past was going to shake the tables or whatever else as well. Because I think the tables we had, because the bank we were on, I don't know if it's the same way you were actually, that they weren't all necessarily the same level, some of the tables. So I think was it Andy's? I think it's Andy Polarbrooks. He had two tables. He had one in front and one at the back. And I'm fairly sure that one of them was slightly higher than the other one. So I think they ended up having to shore it up slightly. So I'm fairly sure there's a slight step in it. And it was a bit awkward. So you have to try and fix that on the go.
That sounds quite terrible. If I was across tables that weren't level, that would terrify me. I think before the show, I don't know whether it was January or not, but I think Kev or Leanne email people to say we've kind of got too many people. Can anyone, give up some space on their table and things like that? And I think the only thing I said to them was, I don't really care. I need this much space, but whatever you do, please don't have me span a table. I need to be on a single table, so I have a single set of levels that I know what I'm working with.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. That it would be if you've got a build that spans the two, as you're saying, there's a slight variances. Yeah, that's gonna need to maybe get some extra plates or some tiles or something and just chuck it under there. This is what I'm looking at. That's the lighting text there. So I just looked at open the wrong folder. Okay, now we've got I want to look at the river a bit more in depth as well, because you've got some really nice elements on there. So you've got the. Let me zoom in. Oh no, properly. There you go. Yeah, so you've got this really great sort of piece here. So this is just panels. Is that right? Under the river.
They are 6 by 6 by 2/3, so 2 plates high. Trans satin violet, or whatever the proper name is, or whatever Bricklink calls it. But yeah, that's just a colour I saw very early on and thought that is fantastic. That's what I want to use. And the rest of this build here is literally trying to work out what the interface was going to be, what colour the interface was going to be between the river itself and the landscape. So I'm testing shore colours here, basically.
Okay. And you went for the different sort of the color variations to sort of so it's sort of like almost like wet sand or closer to the river as well. So you have gone.
That's kind of what it's supposed to be, yes, on this alien planet.
Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, I kind of thought, well, this literally is an alien world, so I can broadly go with whatever color I like, as long as it does at least look good.
And then you did ultimately actually light the whole river as well, didn't you? As well, so there was like a.
Indeed, yes.
Globe.
I haven't actually got any. I didn't send you any movies of that playing, but I did have some. But maybe I should have sent you one of those, really. But yeah, it had all this kind of scintillating, pulsing light that goes all the way down it.
So it's the light was sort of adding to it, that giving it the impression of like running water or moving water, I should say, not running water.
Running water, moving water, some kind of alien bioluminescence under the surface, basically.
Okay, yeah, that's really cool. And so all of this, though, you did sort of plan it out first as well, didn't you? What was going to go where, so you had a very sort of good idea before you started, as opposed to just sort of jumping in blind, as it were, as well.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, originally the water feature was going to be in like an ocean shore, but I think it may have been Steph who was saying, maybe we could do a river. And I kind of thought, how would I do that? And then I got into this challenging scenario of the river being studs up and the rest of the landscape being studs on the side, and working out how to interface those, because I did want to step it down as it came down from back to front as well. I didn't want it all flat, because that would look just a bit too plain.
So it's kind of like it's sort of flowing down from like the hills, sort of. You can imagine that there's hills beyond, and it's kind of just flowing down.
That's exactly what I wanted to evoke, basically. Yeah.
Okay. And there's the proper classic spaceman you mentioned there as well.
Yeah.
The sticker.
They're definitely been out exploring for many a year at that point.
It's almost like was it the Martian, isn't it? He's sort of, maybe they've come to rescue them from the planet. So it's been strange. Oh, and then this is when it's lit up as well. So did you? Because obviously there is a lot. You have added the lights here. Did you find that? Did they show up as well as you wanted actually at the exhibition hall? Because I know it was quite. I want to say brightly lit, but it's not sort of. It's just it's quite sort of one sort of light throughout. It's not sort of like a little bit darker. Did you find that?
I think it showed up as well as I expected, really. Obviously, our shows in this country can't do the dark hour that international shows seem to have. But I mean, that's the other thing, really. I mean, in some ways, the MOC looked its best in the evenings after all the punters are cleared out and just the displayers were there, because they did dim the lights a bit more at that point, which was great.
Yeah,
But
they
no,
did on the.
I was more than happy with how it looked to
Yeah.
the paying public.
Cool. Yeah, and have you was it just Bricktastic it went to, or have you taken it anywhere else as well?
This has only been to Bricktastic, again, because I'm having to travel around on public transport, so I've got to think about what's near me and how I can get there. Next year I might be hiring a car, but we'll see.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Now, so we've got the landscape there as well, but you did actually have a structure on there as well, didn't you? So again, this was lit up there. So that was inspired just by actual classic space more, I suppose. Well, because there's two buildings on there ultimately.
There are two buildings. One that's the modern city space styling, and one that is far more basic and is the classic space variant.
And that's this one with the nice sort of blue logo with the blue background, so with the logo on as well. So
for the most part, this little module here, with some obvious exceptions, is built with, again, all my childhood Lego. So
okay.
It's 40-plus-year-old for the most part, other than some cheeky modern building techniques that you might blink and miss.
Okay.
But I really wanted this to say as basic and as classic as possible for the most part, this one.
So you've done it really as it is properly sort of classic meets the newer wave of sets that they had last year. It was last year now, isn't it? Or last year was space.
Last year before. I don't know. Time passes so quickly.
I know. It's nearly October already. What's going on? Yeah, it's really. But I think there's definitely a charm with the old classic space stuff. I think there's like the simplicity of it is quite appealing, really. And I think I do prefer the older palette as well. I think with lots of the blues and then just the greys and the blacks as the accents as well. And the pieces you've used for like the legs of the building here as well. Is that? Do they actually still make that part? I
am not sure that they do. To be honest,
it's funny because it's just because of the way it sits with the actual studs, where it's got like almost like I want to say like claws almost, where it sort of grips onto the studs as opposed to actually just clipping on the top.
Yeah,
doesn't seem like it's something they actually do now with a Lego.
No, if I had to guess, that probably disappeared by the 90s, I would imagine, if not sooner or earlier.
Because I know the classic aerials, the piece you've got here with the grey, they're actually, I think they're flat now on the top as well, aren't they? So they keep sort of tweaking some of the older parts, I think, which sometimes for the better, sometimes not. Because I think we've lost the two sort of grey pieces here on the sides with the cones, the three cones on it. I don't think that's current anymore, is it? Because they had to make their own version. So. Yeah. Very, very strange when they do that, when it's a part that's quite useful. But we also then, as you said, as well, we've got there is the modern building as well that you've done as well, which I'll just bring up as well so we can have a quick look at that. If it's going to load up, please. Thank you. So this was done as a test, as a render, first of all, before you actually got there.
Actually, I might have misled you there, because this is slightly more back to front from my usual way of doing things. This model was actually built for real first.
Okay.
And then I converted it to digital.
Okay. So
that's simply because I wanted to use the parts that we had, because time was starting to get short by that point. I thought, oh Christ, I've still got about 50% of things to do.
Right.
I could do it digitally. It'd probably take me longer, if I'm being brutally honest, and I really don't have time to buy many parts. Let's just try and see what I can build with the sets that I've actually got.
Okay.
To see what I can get done.
Okay, so this is actually And then so you then just built it digitally afterwards, just
basically for posterity, because when I do eventually take it apart, you know, if I do fancy rebuilding it, which, you know, may not happen, I wanted to know how it was done and what it looked like.
Okay. So yeah, there's nothing on that. I suppose that's another useful thing with when you do it digitally. If you still got the parts, then you know how it will go together because you've kind of got it built somewhere else as well. Anyway, just takes up a lot less room as well. Which is, as Lego builders, that's something we're always looking for. Is a bit more room. Let's see. So this is kind of based then more on like that science lab set that came out. Was it the science?
It is based on that. I had more than one parent come round and point at it and say, "Look, Billy, that's your set." Just because he's got a dome on the top. So I'm seriously.
Yeah. Well, in that case, the botanical gardens must be the same set as well, then, right? It's like,
yeah,
it's all the same. That does make enough. And then this is the actual one here. Is this early on in the construction of it? I think the inside looks a bit different on this one.
It does, yes. It's got an entirely different colour floor, but this is when I got the outer shell right, and I was starting to think about what the internal detail I might want in there would look like.
Okay. And so I guess then for you, then it's just making sure that you get the outside fine, and then you can sort of play around with the inside because you know the space and the limitations that you've got to work.
I kind of designed the footprint of it to kind of occupy a certain space on the landscape. So if anything, in this particular instance, it was going to be that footprint, that outer shell, which kind of very much defined how big it was, basically. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. How did it actually attach to the landscape? Did it literally just sit on there, or did it actually sort of connect in?
It did need to sit in a specific space because there is a cable that comes up through the landscape at the back.
Right. Okay.
I'm not sure if it's really clearly visible in any of the other pictures, actually. But no, there was literally, I think it was one stud that it needed to connect to at a certain point and then be rotated a certain amount so things lined up, basically. So there was one stud just to stop it from sliding about, basically.
Okay. So otherwise it's all free flowing platform, just the one thing, basically, one connection point. Okay. I suppose as well that's quite useful if something. I mean, this isn't. This is quite a standard shape, but I guess if you've got something that is like got a funny shape footprint as well, if you've got that one point of connection as well, it will stops it from going wandering if someone does sort of knock the table a bit as well. So and which does happen because people try and reach across and knock the table rather nicely. So we've got the airlock here as well, which is really cool. So this is then the final inside then that we saw in the render as well.
Pretty much by this point, yeah, I think so.
Okay. There's a lot deep. And was it easy? And then this is then so everyone can see then as well because this is going to be lit as well. Okay. So again, that's that whole making sure there is detail inside so people can see through. The windows because they're lit up, and you're not going to have like a blank space in there like me.
Well, another thing with this building, and the thing I was thinking about when I was coming up with the idea is, theoretically, this is a sealed building, but I've kind of cut the walls away so it makes it more easier for the viewer to see in. So you have to imagine there's really a wall across there. So I figured if I just put like windows all across, it'd be so hard for anyone to see the detail anyway. There'd be almost no point putting any in. So
because people are like, just got a building, can't see inside. Okay. Oh, that's really nice. The effect actually with that lit up like that as well actually does really add to it as well. So
this is another good example of me hiding the wiring because at the top ceiling level you can see a tube that runs across the wall, and that's just me hiding the wire again. And it also looks great in industrial. Yeah.
I would not have actually thought that there was I wouldn't have thought that there was a wire in it. And then so presumably then that just comes out the back like through a Technic. Is it like a Technic brick you've got just to make it
basically, this is why it did need to align a certain way, because just behind there on the landscape, there's a snot brick that the wire comes up through, goes up a pole, basically. You know, just more of these Technic pins with the 2 brick long cylinder things, and then you can just see, if you look, a little bit of wire that is free running between the two, because you need a little bit of flex in there, but you're
is
not
that
going to see it.
just up there? Yeah, that's very. Is very. You would have to know it's there, I think, to see it in the first place, wouldn't you? Really.
I did my best.
But this is the. This isn't the new. Is it the 2.0? Isn't it the new?
It is. Stuff. None of that was used in this. I don't think it was out by then, because this would have all been wired up December, January time, basically.
Right. Okay. Yes. Yeah. The new stuff's. I mean, you've got some of the 2.0 stuff, haven't you? It's really odd sort of. The way I describe it is like tinsel, because it's that sort of really weird. Especially if they're all together, they do rustle.
I mostly prefer it, but I do have some problems with it.
Okay. Is that what sort of problems have you encountered with it?
So the problems I have with it, with the old system, the wires are the wires. You can chuck them through any hole that LEGO will give you to run something through. That's fine. The new system appears to have kind of 2 types of cable. One that runs from whatever the unit is and just lights a single light. And there are the power delivery cables, let's call them, which you can run between power blocks to power blocks. And the connectors on the end of those are too wide to put through, you know, like an open stud, for example. Which is just slightly frustrating for me. It does have the benefit that, because it is, as you say, basically tinsel, it is a little bit more tolerant on being sandwiched between bricks. But I do prefer not to pinch wires if I can help it. So, you know, it mostly does the job that I want it to do, but that is a little bit frustrating.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean with the connection, because what is it? Is that your, because it's when you actually got a wire to like expand something, you plug it into that the box. I can't remember. I've completely forgotten what the box is called. Like the expansion blocks.
Yeah, I've sort of got some here, but they're attached with things, so I can't really show you. But
they're really quite wide, aren't they? The actual one, because it's like two. It's almost like a fork, isn't it? It's got to go in. Into the bit. So yeah, it's a lot wider.
Yeah, and those ones are just a little bit too wide. It's a little bit frustrating. I wish they weren't, but
yeah,
I'm sure they had their reasons for changing it up like that. But the other ones are just fine still. The ones that just feed directly to a light and don't need to carry the power on further or anything like that, they're still small enough.
Yeah, and I think there's still a lot more I think you can do effects-wise and everything with the older ones still. So I don't know if you can get.
I think there is still at the moment, yeah.
Yeah, so but early days, we'll see where it goes, I guess. So there we go. So, and how long then overall? I mean, I know this is a question that everybody always gets asked when they do these, when we're at the shows. So you may have answered it 1 or 70 times already at a show. So from start to finish, how long did this mock take to do? Planning and all the rest of it.
I mean, to be honest, I can't necessarily remember exactly the day or week we started doing it, really. Let's say it was started March and it was finished the day before Bricktastic.
Right, okay. So
basically
best part pretty much a whole year then, just from start to finish.
Yeah, let's call it 11 months. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, let's go.
And that's why I haven't done any other mocking in that time, or indeed even this year, because I've been focusing on these preposterous display mocks rather than doing anything for a layout or anything else.
Yeah, it's just becomes a bit sort of all-consuming.
A little bit.
It's so I mean, what's your sort of general process when you are starting a mock? 'Cause I know with this one you had actually drew some plans initially. So you did just a very rough plan of what you wanted to create here. But is this how you usually sort of plan them out? You sort of draw them out first of all, or is it just
a little bit? I mean, there are some silly sketches of the one I'm currently working on. I'm not a very good drawer, as you might be able to tell from this overhead plan. Pen and pencil isn't my strong point. I think I'd rather, have some decent ideas and just start experimenting in studio,
Mm.
really, I think would be my typical approach, I would say.
So just basically just like to just get stuck in and just let it take you to where you need to go. So.
No, it didn't be, no. No, I would absolutely love to be better with a pen and pencil and do some better sketches up front. I'd envy the people that can do that, but I cannot do that, so
So
I do as best as I can.
So the trouble is, it's one of those things. I think the danger, I think, is if you do that, then you could spend too long doing the drawing or too long planning. Because I know,
Possibly,
not necessarily with MOCs, but with stuff in general. Before I've just spent ages planning stuff. You come up with this really brilliant plan, and then you realize you've got maybe like 2 weeks left to actually do what it is you need to do, and it's just
but better to try and crack on. Really, I mean that's another
yeah,
learn from last
yeah.
year, I suppose, is try and crack on a bit sooner rather than just languishing, cocking about with ideas and trying to get on with it.
So, so we've got a picture of it here, then all packed away in the suitcase. This is literally just your MOC, just all in one suitcase, and then you've got
Basically, yes, padding out with the likes of socks on the outer edge there by the looks of it, just to make sure it doesn't rattle around too much. That was basically it. All wrapped up in cling film and or cardboard boxes where appropriate, with some padding, and chucked in a suitcase.
and then there wasn't actually much actual rebuilding when you got those. You said it was pretty much just take it out, clip it together.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, even I was happy
shut
with
it
just
off.
how fast it ultimately went together. It was great. I think this picture is about as broken down as it gets, really, by the looks of it.
And so the river here with this is where all the lights are for to create the pulsing on the river. That's just an element then that just clips underneath the actual surface of the water, as it were.
Well, I mean, on the right, on the left there, sorry, is the river module itself, and the lighting is on the right-hand side of that. Is that black strip with the trans clear 2x2 shoes on it. So the river had to kind of gently sit over that to kind of align it correctly.
Okay.
That was the most tedious thing to try and do, to try and get that to line up properly. I wanted to fix that in so it was more rigid, but I just didn't have the time to do it.
Yeah. So that's one of those. If I had, I don't know, 2 days more, I'd get that bit sorted out, sort of thing.
Possibly, yes.
And then this is it. Then all set up actually on the table as well.
Indeed.
With, all the extra details added on as well. So, and then were the figures actually put on jumpers or snot bricks, or were some of them actually just resting as
No,
well?
they're all basically on a snot brick. They are all attached to something. The possible exception is one of the modern space aliens, just because it doesn't have a connection point underneath it, basically.
Oh, is that the ones that are like on? Is it like a crown piece? Isn't it? I think.
I think it's a crown piece. Yeah. That's the only one that floated around, really. Everything else was attached.
So I guess you could sort of, someone could, or you or Steph could sort of just swap them around every day and just move them around. And
there was a little bit of movement as the day progressed. Progressed, that's for sure.
Okay, was that
just for our own amusement?
Yeah, exactly. Someone walks past, I'm sure that wasn't there before. Yeah. Okay, and
this is a pretty good picture, actually. I think Steph mentioned this earlier. The last thing to build on literally the day before we left was that back wall, which kind of shows the distant horizon and the night sky. If we had more time, the lit up stars there wouldn't be quite as bright as they are, because they were just a little bit too piercing, but it was such a last minute thing. We really didn't have the time to iterate that to get it looking just slightly better.
I think it works really well though, because it's quite clear then that is an alien background, and again it's an alien planet, so you can just be like, yeah, we know it's close. The stars are closer here, so it's I suppose on the other side of it as well, when you are the builder of the mock, in the back of your head, you're like, oh, that's just not right. That's just not how I wanted it to be, and you're always going to see it then again. So it's a bit of a curse, I guess, for when you are the mock builder.
That's just a little build that was invented by legendary Stewbot. And I said, can I do a little version of that on my own mock? And he said, yeah, great, go for it. So I did.
Oh, nice. So
it's just a little space hover bike. I think it was used on the Hashima build that year.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, is that the one? Because he didn't have Fabuland character on it, did he? But he did have a Fabuland influence on one of his builds on that.
Yeah. I think he had a Fabuland kind of Bespin cloud car kind of cloudy thing, didn't he? Just a small little build.
Yeah. Yeah, the double module thing, isn't it? The red one, yeah. So now the show's sort of done and you've sort of decompressed from it, if you like. Were you sort of quite happy then with your first show and how the build went and how it was transported?
Yeah, I was very happy with that experience. You know, as you said before, up until that point, I'd never done any kind of a show whatsoever. And people were telling me, you should really try a smaller show before you do something like this. But I'm like, nah, in at the deep end. But no, I was really happy with the whole experience. So, you know, I think pretty much on the journey home, we were thinking about what we might actually do next.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and then as you said, you kind of plunged into that one or to your next one pretty much straight away as well. So then I guess then the way you like to work then is with this particular one then is you kind of like have the initial plan and then is a lot of trial and error then in studio generally just to try and get the look you want and have a play around with techniques. And then I mean, was there much alteration there between studio and the real world build, did you find?
I mean, the main reason for me for using Studio was to solve some of the technical problems I knew I was going to have. As for changes, there was a composition change, which I think did come about more from building it physically and then looking at it and thinking, that isn't quite working right visually, which I perhaps wasn't picking up in Studio. Mm-hmm. So there was that, I suppose. Originally, I think, for example, the landing pad was going to be in the back left corner and the classic space one was going to be at the back next to that, and then in front of that was going to be the modern space building. But kind of when you sat there and looked at it, it's kind of like the modern space building kind of seemed to be eclipsing things a bit, and things needed a bit more breathing space. So It was only after, I think, building that and kind of putting it all down that became apparent.
Okay.
Really,
so I guess, I mean, were you able to put everything, all the modules on I suppose you wouldn't have, if you built the studio version of the modern building afterwards, you wouldn't have really been able to work that out in studio, I guess.
No, quite, and that is perhaps part of the problem there, really, because, you know, I went and built the modern building, I don't know, I think I probably did that in January, if I'm being honest, probably.
Okay.
And it was that point I thought, okay, maybe, I mean, this looks good, I like it, I don't want to take it down, but it's not quite working with the rest of the composition kind of thing, which is why it ended up getting pushed to that back left corner, because it sits quite neatly there with the smaller classic space one to its right, and the landing pad ultimately in the kind of middle left.
It's nice though, because you've got it's like you've got it's almost like, you know, they've had, you know, it's like you know, you see like in towns and cities or whatever else, well, when you've got the older office building, if you like, at the front, which is like the classic space, and then you've got like the new one that they build out that's all made of glass and it's got all the latest architectural features that they sort of build, that's just usually sometimes next to the office. So you've got this new shiny building and you just got the old one that, you know, they're maybe moving out of there and then slowly moving into the new one. So I quite like that you have got it's the idea. I mean, I don't know if that's maybe intentional, but it's
kind of. I mean, the story of this mock is that the classic space people have found this interesting energy source in the crystals that come about as the life cycle process of the river and the trees, and the modern space people are here to take over that and take the technology forward.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Then yeah, it definitely works because it's kind of like, you've got it's almost like the scout party, I guess, and then they've got like, oh yeah, we're going to take advantage of this, so we need to make this a bigger operation. So yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. Actually, that's a very good point. The landing pad was the first thing I built physically.
And
after months of working on it in studio and then finding out it fell apart.
Oh, right. Okay. Is that because it was I know circles are a bit tough in Lego sometimes. Was it just getting the actual shape of the circle then that was an issue?
In terms of the technicality of it, yes. Getting it as circular as I want it. Because, for example, some of the slope parts and the cheese slopes come down and there's a little kind of vertical bit that's kind of half a plate out.
Yeah, yeah.
They come to that flat surface. I wanted to eliminate that as much as possible as well, because I'm an arsehole and like my detail. So yeah, it was working out how to build that, and then originally it was all basically one brick thick, which works fine in studio. Studio's very happy with that. But then when you come to build it for real and prop it on what was going to be the original stand for it, it was just so flimsy.
Oh, right, okay.
But it's like, no, I've got to do something else here to shore this up.
So that stuff presumably then is what we can't see. There's all the stuff going on underneath that is...
You can't see it, but what is underneath there is kind of like a neat enough and believable enough looking structure. So if you look at it, you could think, yeah, that could be supporting that. That's fine.
Right, okay. It's I know when I've tried to do circles, you can get the shape of the circle fine, and then it's actually trying to find some way of actually being able to connect it to everything else, and it's just
which actually is another approach I took to building this. Is that there were points where I would just put the parts down in studio, saying, "This is what I want. How do I join those together?"
Yes. Without sort of
then I'd figure it out from there.
Yeah, it's just trying to find a way to connect stuff and keep the shapes and not make it ridiculously thick as well. Because you sort of try and you think, oh, I'll just add an extra like a layer of plates or something, and then it ends up being that's a little bit thicker then, and it doesn't quite work with whatever it's next to, and then you've got to find a way to mitigate the fact that you've had to rise it by a plate or two, and then it's just
there is one small cheat in there which iterate around it as much as I like. I couldn't figure it out, but there is a half plate gap that I needed to fill because I couldn't find any other way to make things align. So I've used one of those kind of minifigure torso things that go over a minifigure's torso. So it sits on their neck piece and goes on their front, basically.
Oh, with the stud on it.
It's the hole for the minifigure neck, basically.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know.
Because that's basically a stud, so that's kind of jammed in there to hide a half plate gap in four of the corners, basically.
Right. That's
blink and you'll miss it. I know it's there and it bothers me, but
oh, okay. You can look at it, no one else notices it, and you can just zone straight on it, like
basically, yes.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think there's always something like that, isn't there, with a build? It's just that one little detail that you're just like, oh, if only I didn't have to use that, because it just doesn't go. Or I think I had it with the one I've just done, or that I had last year. There's one brick, and I think the closest color I could get was white, so it just stood out. And no one commented on it. Just in my head, it's like this white, it just stands out. It's just very frustrating.
If you've got my folder structure and you look in the plan folder, there is a file there called single height 15 6x15 6 in stud snot brick circle V4 or something to that effect.
Okay.
And if you look at that hard enough, you'll see where I've had to cheat.
Oh, okay. So we'll call it a trade secret. It'll be fun. It's fine. I'm sure that there's lots of techniques that people have got that are similar along similar lines that, just to get it to work for the build, because there's that sort of 11th hour moment, isn't there? And you're like, yeah, I've just got to get this done somehow. So blue tack maybe as well. I've certainly been guilty to using some blue tack every now and again. Which you forget sometimes as well. And you when you're taking it apart, it's like, oh yeah, right, because you get it that's when it goes all stringy. It's horrible. But so that was this year, just gone, and you've already now moved on to next year's as well.
Basically,
which is as well. You're streaming on Tuesdays on Twitch.
Indeed.
It's 7, isn't it? You start. That's right.
7 p.m. UK time.
Yeah,
is what I'm aiming for on Tuesdays.
And that's a mixture of you physically building and in studio as well. Is that right?
The streaming I'm only set up for digital at the moment.
Right.
Maybe I'll invest in another camera down the line to kind of get different angles so I can do some physical building. But at the moment, it's just digital.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I have seen popped in and seen you building as well. So and you've also got some on your Instagram page as well of how the build's going. So because you have actually started physically building it now.
Absolutely.
Already. Is that something that you learned from last time? Is to actually just get some bricks down earlier?
Spot the problems early.
Yeah.
So they don't surprise you 2 weeks before you're supposed to be displaying, basically.
That when you get your first bricks order for the build you've been planning all year, and it's like, oh, it doesn't work. So I know we've got some pictures of it that you sent through. So I just bring those up.
I think the pictures of those that I sent you are the ones that aren't on Instagram, or possibly not on Instagram, at least anyway.
Okay. So we've got this one that you sent over. This is the engine core. That's right, isn't it?
This is going to be the engine core, as it were, of my space station. So if you're familiar with, say, Star Trek: The Next Generation, I've got this big kind of tube that's going to be lit in a similar way to the river was on my previous MOC. It's not going to be this color because I didn't have the part available when I built up this test. But I'm still going to use the same trans satin violet, whatever it is, color for these. I do now have this actually built, and I think I've got another picture there that I've sent you, which does have that part in the right color used. But this was generally just to try and test the lighting ideas that I was having for it, to see if they would work.
So this is
a bit closer to what it's going to be like in the final one, yeah.
So this is like your equivalent of like your walk core, if you like, then. So
basically, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Indeed.
So that's really cool. So, and this is going to be lit then as well, so you'll get that nice lighting effect through this color.
Absolutely, yes. I don't know yet how this is going to fit into the cube module, because again, me being an arsehole for detail, if you are looking at it from the viewer perspective, I want you to see those two beams there as they are there. This is kind of like the viewer's angle.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
So then if you look at the base of that and how those go into those Technic rings, and then how that has to sit on the bricks,
okay, yeah,
you will see that there's a bit of a problem there because they are at 45 degrees. And that's just the way those Technic parts are going to have to sit to get that orientation.
Right.
So I'm not quite sure yet exactly how I'm going to get that to work the way I want it. I've got some ideas, but yeah, that's a future me problem.
Right. Okay. Yes, will future you thank you for that? That's the question.
Through gritted teeth, probably.
Through gritted teeth. Yes. And so will you sort of try and figure the problem out physically for this bit, do you think, or are you going to attempt the studio?
For getting this to fit in, I will probably embarrass myself on a stream doing it digitally. I think that's my plan.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then we've got here. This is the harvesting module lighting test. I've got this down. So same panels as the river.
Absolutely, because in my head canon, the modern space people have noticed this life cycle of the trees and the river and the crystals that it generates that they then turn into batteries. So they've effectively just taken that biosphere, if you like, into space with them because it does the job.
Okay, so this is sort of the story wise. This relates to the previous MOCs. This is like that's basically like the harvesting of it, and then this is the result or what they're going to be used for.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, that's quite a nice little through line as well. Then from each year, so you're going to get people who've been last or this year. It was this year, and then they go next year, and they'll be like, oh, that's the same as that maybe you think, oh, that's the same color scheme, what's the same sort of thing as one last year, and you say, yes, because. And
possibly, if anyone remembers, that'll be very flattering. But yeah, that's basically the idea.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. That's really cool. And so you mentioned it. So this is the basis, isn't it, for a lot of your builds at the moment, isn't it? You're using the cube, but you've modified it. That's right.
Basically, yes. It's kind of a Hashima cube, but I've made a small modification, partly inspired by someone else who was on that Hashima Bricktastic Discord, because where those columns interface with the studs up bottom and top sections originally have a really tiny quarter of a plate offset, so you can't quite tile around the bottom of them neatly, which unreasonably bothers me. So I have to go with a different solution which just gets rid of that quarter plate offset, even if maybe, just maybe, it doesn't make them quite as good as weight bearing as they were. I'm not an engineer. I don't know if that's the case. I've no idea. But yeah, it does come with its own other technical problems, but I'll gloss over those for now because it's just tiresome and tedious. But yeah.
Okay. And how many sort of these modules are you planning on it being?
I'm planning on 7 of this size and 3 of a more customized, slightly narrower size.
Okay. And you've got like the layout, presumably so roughly what's going to go where.
Pretty much, yeah. I've got a map, as it were, basically sketched out. Yeah.
Okay. And is it going to be like 2? I mean, obviously, you don't have to tell me because it's still all being built at the moment. But is it going to be just 1 cube deep, or is it going to be like a couple of cubes deep?
It is, from the viewer's perspective, at least, going to be 1 cube deep. So there's going to be like 3 on the right, and then it's going to be the lift shaft, basically, which is going to be the slightly narrow ones. Then there's going to be 2 high, and then there's going to be 2 1-high sections, basically.
Okay.
That's the current plan.
And so you've done all these modules. So you're planning most of them out in studio, but you are, as you said as well, you are kind of do some ahead of schedule, as it were, as well. So just to keep ahead of it, I suppose, if nothing else, and make sure all goes on.
I'm trying to make the whole thing as modular as possible, not just in the actual cubes themselves, but the elements that go into the cubes. So, like a section with the door in more or less replicates wherever it's going to be put, and a independent wall can be more or less copy and pasted between them, and the corners can be copy and pasted between them, just to try and, in part, to make it easier to kind of work out what parts I need and build it together in an easy fashion. But also, in a way, it's kind of what any space agency might do, perhaps. It's like, well, we'll just build all these modules and then, lock them together. So it's not necessarily unreasonable, really.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it kind of makes sense as well, doesn't it? It's like, if you have got something that you are building, like a space station or something, it makes sense that you build as much of it as you can modular and then just clip it all together, or screw it together, but you're not going to clip it together.
Mm.
I suppose the beauty with it as well is, not only does it fit the briefing, and it kind of looks like how the space station would be, but also then the fact that it's a lot easier for transport as well, which is probably is that kind of in the back of your mind again when you're planning this one as well?
Again, absolutely yes. I mean, we're kind of resigned to using a car or a small van next year for transport, just to make the whole thing slightly easier. But these cubes very, very neatly into a really useful 35-litre box. So just one module per box, chuck them in, bit of padding, in the back of a vehicle, jobs are good.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Yeah, that's a good plan. It's a good plan. Because, again, do you think, so I guess setup time will be shorter as well, in that you literally take out a box, put on table, just make sure they'll, nothing's shifted or anything, and then
basically, yes, I really hope so. For the wiring and power distribution, I am hoping again to use those like my bricks contactless things. So
Okay,
hopefully I can just put one module down, put the other one on top, and it'll just automatically be lit. Hopefully, is my plan.
okay,
So,
yeah.
Fingers crossed that all works, and it is literally just about 30 minutes of setup.
Because
Fingers crossed.
It's really, I found it really, I don't know if it was the same for you guys actually. I found, because you've got the whole day to set up, and when you find, when you actually set your build up and you still got, I don't know, the majority of the day left, it's only taking you an hour, 2 hours or whatever, it's kind of a bit disconcerting. You think, I don't know what else I could do now. So I guess if it's the quicker the setup time, it's like just wander time and have a look around.
Well, yeah, I think for me, who's never been on that side of it before, it was a great time to stop, walk around, see what everyone else was doing and setting up, because it might be your best time to actually see what they're doing anyway. Because once all the punters come in, it's just a crowd.
Yeah, that's true. I think the times I have been there, I don't think I've actually seen everything that everyone's brought to it, because there's always, I see pictures and it's like, oh, I missed that. I didn't even know that was there.
Same
Especially
here.
the other room, you've got the outside the main hall, there was the other build. I don't think I saw anything out there at all.
Right.
Which is quite bad, really. You've got a whole day just to get around to see it.
This is another interesting picture, actually, because there's another one of my tedious attention to details that maybe is a bit of a detail too far. So if you see on the top right of there, you've got that blue tile outside.
Oh, yeah, here, yeah. Oh, outside the cube, sorry.
No, further right. Yeah. I think it's blue. Yeah, that one there. That is a handle that would be on my side of the table to open and close the door.
Oh, okay. So it's like the classic Star Trek sort of open.
Yeah. So the doors move. Is that a bit of detail too far? I'm not sure. I'm sticking with it for now. I might get a bit too bored of it. I don't know, but
it's a nice detail. Would you go to the extent at some point, not necessarily this build, but would you go to the extent of adding movement or motors, do you think? Someday?
I have thought about that.
You have thought about it, okay.
not for this one though.
Right, okay.
If I take this maybe forward to a future show or even a future Bricktastic with a bunch more modules, and I've got the time to think about how could I automate that with electronics, I might do. I've got some ideas, but I'm trying my hardest to push them out of my brain so I don't get stuck on it and do nothing else.
Yeah, it's the hard thing as well, because if you're streaming it as well, I find if you have these ideas, best thing is to not actually say them on stream as well, because you get somebody who will remember and then they'll come back to you and say, so have you done that then yet? Like, no, it was just a passing thought, really. So,
right, yes.
Yeah, kind of get held to it a bit, which is a bit awkward. So we've got this to look forward to, because I think that's all the pictures you've sent through so far. But then,
yeah, the rest is on Instagram, which anyone can see whenever.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to. Also, we don't want to sort of spoil everything as well, really. Now, because
well, quite possibly.
Yeah. But what I will do there is I will say, so if people watching the stream do want to see more, you can visit Phil's Instagram page. So it's iloveabitofsnot, where you can see just here. You can just see some of the cubes here that have been built. So have a look there. Just see what's there, and also then follow him on Twitch as well, which is so it's Twitch TV. It is I Love a Bit of Snot there as well. So have a look, go there, watch Phil build on Tuesdays at 7 o'clock, and see the delights of studio in action as well. And because no one ever gets impatient with studio when they use it at all, ever.
Never.
It's perfect. It's nice, free flowing program. It's absolutely no problems whatsoever. So what I was going to say as well was, I was going to ask about your inspirations when building as well. Is there? We've mentioned obviously the themes that you build with, but is there any sort of MOCs you may have seen or builders you've seen that when you've been to Bricktastic or just online that maybe have inspired you as well?
Inspiration. I don't know. Going to any kind of shows like Bricktastic will always have, the most amazing builds that you've ever seen. It astonishes me that you've been generous enough to invite me on here. There are so many other marvelous builders out there, really, frankly, Kaz or Stu, for example, just two off the top of my head.
Or
Bricktoria, for another one. There are just so many great people out there. In a way, I suppose it is inspiring seeing what people can do with the product, basically. So I guess people are inspiring in that way. All the people in the community are doing their excellent stuff. But as for ideas of what I want to build, the inspiration there comes from, I don't know, basically anywhere and everywhere, really. I guess. I wouldn't say, despite the fact that what I'm showing and showed this year seems to be that I'm stuck in space, as it were. I've got plenty of other ideas which are not space at all. Whether I'll ever do them or not, I don't know, but I've got plenty of other ideas, and it's just a question of time and money, really, into whether I get them done.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair. Because it's not like I haven't stuck to the same theme for a couple of years either. So I really can't comment on that at all. I do have other ideas that aren't the flipping route I've taken. I have got other ideas, but it's just, unfortunately, I think I'm easily persuaded by the stuff that I really like as well. So it's like, oh yeah, but I could do that a bit more. So it's a bit of a pain, really. So I was going to, so the last thing I thought we'd look at as well, then, so I'm trying to work out where this falls naturally in the stream is, because I was going to ask them, so you've talked about seeing people at MOCs, at MOCs at shows, and the people in the community as well. Now, you also mentioned as well when we chatted before as well about a builder that you've seen on Instagram. So if I bring his details up, because it's I thought that maybe you just go have a quick look at the stuff he's done because you wanted to highlight him as well. So it's for this. Now it's not going to let me zoom in because it doesn't like zooming in too much on Instagram, which is a bit of a pain, really. So you wanted to highlight this guy as well. Kanozi Labs, I guess that's right, isn't it?
I assume so. Their YouTube is far more impressive than their Instagram, but they got some good stuff on here as well.
Sorry, it's just my phone up. Professional, obviously. So what is it then, particularly then, that you sort of, why you like this guy, this builder?
They're doing a couple of things differently, which I find quite interesting. The first thing is, when most people do a city, a layout, whatever you want to call it, they will go for, you know, some variant of modulars, more traditional kind of commercial city or residential stuff. They've gone for a far more kind of industrial look, which they pull off really well, I think. And then a lot of the stuff they do and the detailing that they do on the buildings and stuff like that just looks really great, I think. They've
Yeah.
managed to avoid doing fairly big buildings and, you know, with the extra bit of greebling and texture on the surfaces, for example, it doesn't look bland or boring. It just looks like it's full of detail. So that's the first thing they
Hmm.
do, which I find really interesting. The second thing they do, which I think is really interesting, is I don't know if this person even owns a Lego brick.
Oh, okay.
Everything
Okay.
they do, as far as I can tell, is entirely digital from start to finish.
Ah,
So
okay. Okay.
what they do is they build most of their stuff in Studio,
Okay.
and if it all works in Studio, that's fine. And then they take that to another free application to piece it all together and create these sometimes moving images.
Yeah, I think they mentioned, didn't they? In where is it? In here. So they use Blender as well.
Yeah,
It's
they do.
yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I know because I have tried to do stuff in Blender and
Yeah.
failed absolutely miserably. But I know I have seen that people can do animations in there. So yeah, I think you can couple the two together very, very nicely. I think they do go to it. You know, Lego and Blender do go together quite well to get the
The stuff
animations.
they put out looks visually spot on.
Mm.
And if you're enough of a Lego expert, you will spot some things don't look quite right. But that's only because, like, for example, you know that plant piece that's quite large and has three big leaves, for example.
Oh yes, I know the one.
It's
Yeah,
quite big.
yeah.
The leaves on that in the real world, for example, are matte, but their renders of them, for example, have them glossy. So
Oh, okay, okay.
it's only odd little details like that. If you're looking out for them, you'll twig that it's not quite as it seems. But I think what they're doing just looks amazing.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at it as well, it's really nice to see something that's not. Um, I want to say it's not clean lines, but you know, the Lego buildings generally, when modulars are kind of like
Mm,
quite clean and crisp looking, aren't they? So it's like they're
yeah,
like newly built, as it were. But this is quite nice to see. Like with this one here, you can see like the walls are a little bit more run down looking, and as you say, all more industrial, which you don't generally see. It's always just
yeah.
city buildings as opposed to the more industrial areas. So you know you see like the city street
Yeah.
rather view typically with Lego. But it's really quite impressive looking. I mean, you know, regardless of whether he's built it in real life or not, he still had to put the work in to get it built in the first place
Absolutely.
anyway, and still learn the bricks and what they can do. Because I don't think there's any sort of, because I know in studio you can kind of merge bricks, can't you? A lot
Yeah.
well, you can't in real life at all. But it doesn't look like they've done that at all. So it is all legal connections, as it were, as opposed to just you know
I mean, whether
squishing
this
things.
would be physically buildable is possibly debatable, but their
Mm.
policy is if you can build it in Studio, that's good enough for their purpose.
Yeah.
So it's broadly speaking fairly legal building techniques, and it would actually go together.
Mm. Be interesting actually to see if someone, you know, if they could work with somebody as well, maybe, and then just,
Mm.
you know, so they could actually someone actually, you know, they did all the plans in there and rendered it, so you could get an idea, and then someone just took that and then actually built it just to see how it would compare as well. Would be quite interesting. But so that's maybe just a project for someone else because it's certainly not something I've got the time for, unfortunately. But this
Yeah,
some these
they
are
managed to
lovely.
pack in some fantastic detail. It's
Mm.
really quite exceptional, I would say.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, this roof as well. I mean, just the roof alone is just great, and the fact that it, you know, you're just looking at it, it's you think corrugated roofs, and it's a bit rusty. You know,
Mm.
it's just
Yeah.
really great. Oh, that's really great. And then, and you're saying he's also got a YouTube channel as well, which I've actually got a link to. If it can work, if I click on that. This is the point now where it's going to come up with some really loud sound. Oh, it's oh, that's I'm on mute, so that's good. Oh, so there you go. So you can just get an idea, then just do this, that they've been able to move the camera around. It's really, really clever the way they're able to animate it. Because it just looks like it could be, it's similar to the animation almost in the Lego movie, you know, because there's points of that, and I thought it was actually real, actual real bricks that they used, but it's all CGI, of course. Cool. So we should have a look at this builder then. I'll close down the video because my laptop doesn't like it running at the same time as StreamYard. So it's Kenosi Labs on Instagram, and there's also then a link there to his YouTube channel, which, as you said, is worth having a quick look at. So
absolutely check him out.
Yeah, that's really, really good. Oh, and Steph's saying as well, underrated creator, really original stuff. But yeah, I just looking at that, I do agree. It's just you don't usually see, or you don't often see, I should say, not you don't always see, but you don't often see that sort of more grittier side to building. So it's nice to see. We probably did nice railways, wasn't these? So yeah, so we've kind of come to the end. We've got a nice teaser as well for what we're going to be seeing in February. I'm not going to say how far it is until February because I'm only stressed both yourself and myself out, which I don't really want to do. But yeah, so there's a lot there, and also it's really great as well just to sort of chat and just learn more about like the process as well. That you do some in studio as well, most of your planning, and just even just seeing that you started, with the modular, and then that just inspired you then to jump into studio, expand it, and go from there, and then start experimenting with lighting as well, which it seems to sort of go hand in hand with the MOCs that you do as well, which is again, it's just another level as well. So it's really, 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 really quite cool, really cool. And thank you very much for your time this evening as well. And it's been really, really great just learning. As I said, I always find it really fascinating just learning how people approach things, and also it's good to chat to someone else who uses studio and pulls their hair out as well, probably as much as myself.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Very, very flattered to be invited on.
No, it's no problem at all. And as I said, it's just encompassed the greater MOC scene, as it were. So it's really, really great. So again, thank you for your time. And thanks everybody for watching as well. If you haven't already, do the usual, give thumbs up and stuff. I could bring up the banner, I suppose. I'll do that. There you go. It's a very imaginative banner. But yeah, so thanks for watching, everybody. And again, do check out Phil's page on Instagram. And also, as I said, he does do the building on Twitch on Tuesday. So check out what he's doing in the studio on Twitch. And you also then get a preview then as where the MOC's going as well, so you can get a better idea. So that's really quite cool to see. And also you'll find out maybe a bit more about the thought process at the time. And also, because I think the other day when I tuned in, I think you were just trying to work out how to do the, I want to say like a balcony, but it's not quite the right word, is it? But you're just trying to find a mezzanine. Mezzanine, that's the one, thank you. Because you were trying to work out pieces, and then a few people then were saying, oh, what about this? Which is, when I've done studio work as well, I have found it quite useful when people are sometimes watching, because they were like, oh, well, if you use this part, you can do that. And you're just like, perfect, thank you. I wouldn't have thought of that. So
I'm more than happy for any input, but then again, I may ignore you. Who knows?
Yeah, well, exactly. it's the MOC builder's prerogative, It's
exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, so thanks for watching, everybody. So MOC Heads will be back in not next week, it's the week after. Don't know what the date is off the top of my head. I'm going to say the 24th, maybe. Yeah, that sounds about right. I've got that in my head, so that's good. And then next week it's me on my stream, which is the same. It's probably half an hour later, so time shifted. But yeah, thanks for watching, and don't forget to give the thumbs up. And until next time, I will see you all for the next MOC Heads. So, okay, good night, and thanks again, Phil, and see you soon. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you all.